All right, everybody, away we go. Welcome to today's call. It is Friday, the first sales training for the TRC, January 5th of 2018. I'm looking forward to doing this one. And one of the things I want to start off with is a subject about when we talk about the act of prospecting, and then we get into inside sales training calls and talking about what we do in the outside sales, we have to remember why we're doing any of this. And this word prospecting is a very, very important word that everybody should focus on in 2018 from a sales perspective, because it brings up a lot of different connotations, and you might have an idea what that means, and you might think it's cold calling. That's what I thought. For a long time, I thought, hey, look, when you're talking about prospecting, you're probably talking about cold calling, and that's just not right. That's not true. Cold calling is one of the things that you might do to go find a prospect, but you could just as easily talk to somebody at a meeting or group, whatever it might be, and end up with them in a conversation that turns them into a prospect. So at the TRC, we have a very clear lineage that a contact follows along, and like an assembly line, a Henry Ford assembly line. When a lead is the type of a contact that you don't know anything about them, they're not a prospect yet. It's just contact information, because you know nothing about their motivation, their timing, and their desire to buy or sell real estate. But the minute that you do get into a conversation and there's some interest, and they're willing to continue the conversation with you, that is an act of prospecting. Now, it gets difficult to be black and white in there, and I noticed that when I was working with David on my team in the Philippines, we were a little bit confused. Well, I wasn't, but I didn't communicate it correctly as to what I believed a prospect was, because for a long time on these calls, what we've been saying is a prospect is somebody where you know their timing. I have to amend that, because as you learn more about the system in the context of expired listings, that's been a big topic of conversation over the last 90 days or so on these phone calls. And to that extent, I think it's very important to understand that you're fighting for this relationship. So it's not always going to be on the first call that they're going to give you what you need, which is a real clear idea on their timing and motivation, right? That's the key. You're trying to figure that out. You just got to be careful not to say, well, they didn't tell me their timing, therefore they're not a prospect, therefore they're a bad lead, and off they go into this nebulous space. See, I think we've lost our edge a little bit to fight for business, because what we've trained on heavily and we understand is that when somebody tells us to go away, my sister's a realtor or my cousin's a realtor or leave me alone, and that kind of harsh response, I think what we do is we end up bending towards that, and for all the right reasons, we call that trash. But what about those situations where it's not quite clear? And what I'll do here on the call today is I'll bring this up as I'm talking. I'm going to bring up the latest calls that David was making, and where he said he got one prospect out of two conversations, and maybe that was relatively clear on one, but the other one I said, well, wait a minute. What about this other one? This gal, you told her we were sending her the information, our strategic plan, and she didn't say, no, don't send it, go away. She didn't do anything that was really negative. It was just sort of that she hustled you off the phone quickly. So I said, so what do we do about something like that? What do we consider that? Because to me, that's a prospect that should go immediately over to Laura. So before I open up the microphones here, I just want to make that very clear that I think this is a really extremely important point to make, is that the best people in the world at prospecting tend to cheat towards always looking for the right now prospect, which is the appointment. That's not a client yet. That's just a right now opportunity, that appointment, but it's still a prospect. And they create this mass overflow of conversations that sound like they have some life, but then they don't do anything about them. So they end up throwing them away. So I want to make sure that you understand when we talk about dialogue in this group and in this training program about the sales part of it, if you get a conversation going and you can then make some exchange of a gift, meaning that information, your strategic plan, updates of sold properties, anything that they're okay with getting, that's the beginning of a prospect creation. Maybe it's a lead plus, I get it, but it is they're crossing over into another stage with you that I think is very, very important to recognize. In a big ticket item business like real estate agency, you have to understand that you can't just pick up the phone and regularly people going, sure, why don't you come over to my house and tell me all about yourself and what you're going to do? It just doesn't happen that easily. It's this fighting for this inch where you can demonstrate you are professional and you can give away some information that begins that. But the question is, in a sales funnel, where did you just put those people? So they weren't an appointment today. You put them into some sort of a follow-up funnel where now presumably the educational emails, the education that you mailed them, or the updates in MLS for sold properties and for sales on the buy side, you went somewhere with them. But are you prepared to remember to follow up? Because that is as much part of the sale as the first initial script all the way to the initial signing of an offer. I'm going to make that very clear here today as we go into this. I'm going to open up the mics, and remember that *6 mutes your mic, *7 unmutes it, okay? So check. Are we good to go? We good? Guys hear me okay today? Good. As usual, I have to... Yeah, David, hi, buddy. You there? All right. So David's going to be in the hot seat with me because it's David's reporting that we were looking at the other day. So what happened was, and again, I want to be realistic about this. Hey guys, let me say one more time. If it's noisy where you are, hit *6 on your phone and that will mute it. Otherwise I have to mute you. So I can hear a little bit of noise in the background. Let me just give a pause. *6 mutes your microphones. Okay. *6. That would help. Got a couple here. Hang on one second. Okay, there we go. I got him. All right. So David, what we did was we looked at a couple of these things, and the first thing that I see here is what I want to share with these guys. And in a context of, let's give them some ideas of your call attempts. You're able to make somewhere between 30 and 60 per shift. But I don't want them to be confused that that's, you're simply just doing calling all day long, because you're not. And we don't have a dialer hooked up yet, which we're working on now that you know what you're doing. So somewhere between 30 and 60 call attempts in what period of time?
Okay, on average, that would be a 4-hour block that I do, 3 to 4 hours per day that I dedicate just for calls. I'd say on average, it would take somewhere between 4 to 7 minutes per call, to manually dial it, to input whatever notes or whatever transpired into Infusionsoft. So that's about the time I would spend to make just phone calls.
Okay, so it's about 7 minutes or so. You said 4 to 7 minutes to actually manually get the notes up, be prepared.
At 6.
Average of 6?
I'd average it at 6.
Okay. All right, good. So, and then we're finding that, would you say, of the call attempts, you're getting somewhere around, I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me, what percentage of people actually pick up the phone?
This week, I guess, has been particularly low, but if I were to average it from 2017 calls using the last spreadsheet we had, it was somewhere between, I think, 10 to 12%.
Okay.
That would actually pick up.
Okay, so in the course of time, let's forget about because everybody's going to be a little bit differently. Some of you that manually dial are going to be able to do it faster than others. We are cheating more towards a methodical approach where the notes are clear. He knows exactly who he's calling. He has clear articulation in case he can get into a conversation with them. So we like to be well prepared for our phone calls because I'd much rather slowly ramp him up, which you'll be doing, and you'll be seeing him sometime in February when we upgrade to using a dialer internally to expedite the number of tasks that he'll be able to complete. So I'll just say that 40 is on the light end, and you should be able to do that certainly when you sit down to do this. David, it takes you about what kind of time period to make the phone calls a day? What would you say you spend?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Just dialing. When you're just dialing.
I want 4 hours a day.
Okay, so about 4 hours a day? All right. So it takes quite a bit of time to manually dial.
I do.
Yep. Go ahead. Can you hear me okay? You guys hear me okay?
Yeah. It breaks up a bit, but yeah. But basically, Danny, what I do is I allocate, a certain number of hours per day. So it's a call block that, regardless of whether I'm doing administrative tasks, clearing out tasking and infusion software, emailing. I leave a certain number of hours per day that is just really dedicated for phone calls. That way I can maximize things. So yeah, I'd say about half of my shift is spent just on the phone.
Okay, cool. So half of the shift is on the phone. The other half is the maintenance that it takes to be on the phone, right? So, so good. Oh,
Yeah.
good. Thank you, Tim, for telling me you can hear me. All right. So now I want to get into some of your calls first so everybody can hear them, what it's actually like. And I'm just going to tell you right now, if you're calling expireds, buyer leads, probates, whatever it is, don't think this is easy work. I'm not delusional that just because we train on something, it should be or is easy. People are busy. People are aggravated, I'll tell you that. There's no doubt about it. Listen to enough training calls that are real live calls and talk to enough people, even face to face as an outside sales person. People are agitated. Highly agitated all the time. For whatever the reason is, they're agitated. So every time you come in a sales context, understand that they're agitated, or to a certain level or not. Some are nice. Some can be super nice. But not anybody believes when you pick up the phone that, oh yeah, sure, absolutely 1000% that you're going to be a benefit. Some people you can convince, you can get appointments. There's no doubt about it because somebody says, this is interesting. Somebody taking an initiative. But the reality of the moment is that there is the real sound of the people on the other line. And I want all of you ISAs and OSAs, especially ISAs, to be clear. This is difficult work, but it is a numbers game. And the cool thing about expireds and probates, you get a quick answer as to whether there's real estate to sell in a probate situation or not. And whether the expired is going right back with the other agent or not. That happens a lot. So there's a very quick turnaround to find out who's a conversation. But in this call, I'm going to focus on what we believe were one prospect for sure and the other one not for sure. So you listen to these calls and you hear how I train on it.
Hello?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm looking for Anne, please.
Speaking.
Hi, Anne, my name is David. I'm with the Griffin Realty Group. The reason I'm calling you right now is because we saw that your property expired from the MLS. And I just wanted to let you know that we sent to you our strategic listing plan in the mail to help you, figure out what went wrong, unless, of course, you took it out on purpose.
Yeah, we did, and we're not going to be selling it, so thank you for your call, but it's off the market. So
Right,
we won't be putting it back on. Thank you.
All right, well, we still sent you something.
Okay, so she hangs up on him. So you can see and David, like I said before last time, you don't have to fight for that last bit, right? You know she's getting you off. You know she's going to disappear. And see, she's frustrated. See, this is a classic expired situation. So the bottom line is we took it off and we're not going to be doing something. That could be the frustration of the moment. I mean, think about this. When we're calling an expired listing, there's been a failure. Something's gone wrong. And even when they tell you they took it off intentionally, well, why did they put it on in the first place? Right? Unless they're ridiculous and they're delusional, like, it's that kind of goofy concept that Zillow came up with, not to knock Zillow, but that, make me move crap. To me, that's nonsense because what that does is that screws up the real marketplace. Right? If you want to sell your property, then be serious about selling your property. Be motivated on a scale somewhere around 8 to 10. And the 8 would only be because you don't really know how the process works. You're nervous. How will I move from this place to that place? That would be normal to me. So the only people that really were wasting time are the people who were just saying something like, oh, I was just trying to get a number. Okay? Those people are a waste of time. Because they're, again, I'll say, they're coming into the marketplace called MLS. They're infusing their listing. It's now overpriced for sure. Somebody said yes to them and thrown it in, and we've screwed up the inventory. See, the irony is there's a lot of inventory shortage across the United States and Canada. That's all you hear. Inventory short, inventory short. Great. Well, then all the inventory that comes on should sell, right? Wrong. It doesn't. The irony is properties continue to expire. Why? Because people aren't realistic about what they did or they didn't get good advice. So when that process, you go through your process of listing your house and you have some intent to sell it and it doesn't happen, you are upset in that moment. So you will say things emotionally driven when you are upset. So to this extent, she said thank you. There was a conciliatory tone, she was cordial enough, right? But now that's something that could be followed up on, because what I would do is I would say we should be looking in MLS at Ann's property. We should see where it is. We should see how realistic the price was. We should see if it was on for a long period of time, right? Because there's nothing wrong with now going to that lady and fighting for the business. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next one, here we
Danny,
go.
do you
Yeah,
think
go ahead.
that there's a way that, like, do you think that maybe it's not worth asking that question, did you take it off on purpose? Do you think maybe something else so that it doesn't, like, give them an immediate out?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kate, because that's how we make this better. It's a great question. When he was saying that, let's go back and listen to it again, Kate. In the context of Kate's question, the question is, should we be asking them, are they considering selling it? Kate, say it again right before I play it. Say it again.
So I'm wondering if maybe you should either ask something different or altogether not ask, did you take it off on purpose?
Yeah.
Because then it's kind of just giving them like an immediate knee-jerk, like, okay, I can get out of this.
It's a good point. Let's listen. Here we go. Ready?
Hello?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm looking for Anne, please.
Speaking.
Hi, Anne. My name is David. I'm with the Griffin Realty Group. The reason I'm calling you right now is because we saw that your property expired from the MLS. And I just wanted to let you know that we sent to you our strategic listing plan in the mail to help you, figure out what went wrong, unless, of course, you took it out on purpose.
Okay. So there it is, Kate. So there's the moment. He's giving them the because. Here's who I am. He does a good job.
Yeah.
He does a really good job. It's vastly improved from where it is. It sounds a lot like our role play calls, right? A lot like it in reality.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's a lady that's willing to play the game with him, and she's playing along. She allowed him to say, speaking. How many times have I said that in a role play, right? I was just thinking that to myself. Here you go. Here's classic reality when somebody will play the game and they won't just hear you as something that, is an interruption, because he's smooth. He's saying it. Here's who I am.
Right.
We're calling you because we saw that this happened, so we sent you this. And he's saying, in case you want to list it again, or in a case, I guess he says if you took it off
Or if
intentionally.
you took it off on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what would you say differently there? Let's play it out. What would you say differently?
I mean, I guess it really only just dawned on me now because I know that, we've kind of, anytime in the past, a couple of times when you've role played, you've said that as well, but you must have said something on the end of it too, maybe continued or something, like, because she was still engaging. I mean, she's still listening.
Right.
So I wonder if, I'm not really sure what you would say, but I maybe not like a direct yes or no, because likely she's going to say no, even though it's probably a yes.
Yeah, that's
just
right.
to get off the phone.
Yeah, that's right. So, hey, David, it's Danny Griffin calling from Griffin Realty Group. The reason I'm calling is because I saw that you expired on MLS. I'd say it that way too, not from. Just say on MLS, in MLS, something like that, because it's a reference to that marketplace where we have access, and they might not know how that works. So I saw that you expired in MLS. So what I did was I sent you out my strategic listing plan, right? And maybe he takes a beat there, Kate. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think a beat, because it's not really giving, because what she'll probably say is, oh, thank you.
Right.
Right.
Like,
I don't think she's going to be like, ew, don't. Like,
Yeah.
I think she's going to be like, oh, thank you.
yeah.
And then probably wait for you to kind of pick up again.
Yeah, it's a good point. David, let's test that, okay? So let's test that. Let's say get you through that first stuff that I think works really well to open up the conversation, and just take a breath and see what they say. Because it also will feel easier to you. Yeah, go ahead. Who's that?
Hey, it's Doug Winters.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, one thing to note, just listening to that call,
Yeah.
she answered the phone annoyed.
No doubt. No doubt. There's no doubt, Doug.
Yeah, I feel like they always do.
Doug,
Just
excellent.
by the way she said hello.
Absolutely. Let's go back and listen to it again. He's absolutely right, by the way, because that's exactly what I was thinking, why I keep saying what I said. These people are annoyed, upset, angry, frustrated. You're going to listen for that. Doug picked up on it, and he's 100% right. Listen very quickly how she says hello. Here we go. Ready?
Hello?
You hear that? It's downtrodden. You can feel it. It's like...
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of people probably calling for the expired. You know, I remember when we were selling our house in Centerville, I didn't even think that it was, you know, people get the numbers. And we had like probably 15 calls, and right in the notes it said broker owner.
Yep. Hey, Doug,
agent owner. So they don't even look at that. They're just still calling.
Hey, Doug, anything you wanted to add to that rest of that call, too? What do you think about what Kate's saying about that transition? Because the differentiation point to try to be different from the other 17 calls is that we sent you our plan, right?
Yeah, you know, it's tough because, you know, I think she probably answered the phone out of some feeling of, she didn't want to answer the phone, but she did it out of you know, just not knowing who it was probably, and didn't want to answer it. But she said she was taking it off the market. It sounded like she's either frustrated with it not selling, she's frustrated with something, and you know, it might be an opportunity to say something different to her, like, hey, if you could get your price today, would you still sell? You know, or something that might actually, like, you know, provoke any kind of conversation if there was an opportunity for one there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, like, if there was one there, but.
Yeah, I think we have to take that.
Or maybe if you ask her, why do you think it didn't sell? And maybe engage her that way. See if she's like, oh, the agent was ridiculous, no one came, or, you know, they didn't market it right.
Yeah. I think a provocative question like that is probably the next test, right? Let's test the next thing and say, why do you think it didn't sell? First of all, here's the gift. Why do you think it didn't sell? Let's see what happens with that, right? So put that down and let's roll with that. Why do you think it didn't sell will be the next thing after you sent it. Hey, we sent you our strategic plan and just wondering why you thought it didn't sell. Something like that. You know, whatever feels natural to you, David, let's try that. So let's go on to the next one, though, because I want to keep this point up here. So here are the two calls. Here's the next one. I want you to hear this one, too. Now, remember, the whole point I was saying here is, it's a really question to you all. Has he created a prospect worth following up in that first one? You don't have to answer me now. And then the second one. Because that's his job. That's your job. That's everybody's job. If you go out and you get some leads and you're going to call them, have you created a prospect or not? Meaning, have you moved them from lead where you have absolutely no chance because you don't know who they are and they don't know who you are. But now you have to go off. Let me see what Timmy says. Don't know if you have plans to sell or not sell. But I've sent you our strategic guide just in case at some point in the future. Okay, that's another alternative. So Tim's saying that, you know, I don't know if you still have a plan to sell in the future, but we've sent this to you either way. I kind of like agitating the pain a little bit more, Tim. I think what Kate's question is that it agitates the pain because what we've given them is the solution. The strategic plan is on its way. By the way, why do you think it didn't sell? It's almost a lead-in, right, for that whole thing. He's right. He says address her frustration. Geez, you sound frustrated. Is there a reason it didn't sell? You know, why do you think it didn't sell? Acknowledge the frustration, but still ask the question. I think you can get both of those in there. So, you know, Doug picks up on something that I probably do intuitively, which is I hear their tone. And once I hear that tone, I'm going to probably adapt intuitively some of the language. So I think if there's what we've learned so far, you know, over these months is that number one, it's nice to have something that you sent them that's valuable. It's just nice. You can hear it in all these conversations. It definitely changes that in the beginning. Now, some people get defensive. Don't waste your money on the stamps, some guy told Kate, right? You know, whatever all the nonsense is that people say. But the truth is, it's nice to get something. And we've been working very diligently on ours to make it look even better. And it's, you know, it's not that cheap of a delivery anymore. So it's a real substantial calling card. And we're willing to spend that money to really demonstrate professionalism. So I want to be very clear about what our strategy is here, but I want to be clear that I'm listening each week to the reality of the human being. So we picked up today something very clear. There's a tone. The minute they say hello, be listening for it. Okay. And then be ready to go after your opening script to say, here's who I am. Here's how I know who you are. And here's what I've sent you. Right? Those are the three beats you've got to get in quickly because you're interrupting them no matter whether they're happy, mad, or sad. Now, at that point in time, I think the fact that you've said it's a setup, really? It's a setup. Look, I know you have a problem, so I sent you our plan. Why do you think it didn't sell? I already have my opinion. I'm waiting to hear why you think it didn't sell. Now, perhaps they're going to say, well, and this is why, Kate, we did this. So many of these people began to say, I took it off intentionally. Oh, really? Did your plans change? Now it's conversational. So we go from this is where everybody obsesses about scripts. I think you get into this conversational piece afterwards, but I like the idea of asking a question that provokes them into that cathartic moment. I think you're right, Kate. I think in the past, we've asked questions like that, and we let them have that moment. We let them throw up their frustration on us, so you turn into therapy. And then you say, well, good. The good news is, the good news is you feel like the other agent wasn't doing a good job marketing. You'll notice when the plan arrives, we show you how we arrive at the stage of marketing, because there's actually several stages before that. So when you get it, take a read through it, and I'll follow up with you. Right? And if they're continuing to call, of course you go for the appointment. Say, look, the easiest thing for me to do is actually come over and go over that booklet with you. I'll just bring a copy with me tomorrow if you want me to. And I'll just sit down and take a look at it. I'll analyze the price. I'll analyze the situation, whatever it is you want me to do. If it's there, take it. But it's still going to be predicated around this concept of content where you're going to go in and give them your plan. What's your plan? If you don't have a plan, shame on you. Right? So I don't care what language you're using per se to get in the door, but you've got to have this empathy, and that's a big pickup here today. So let's listen to this next one and lean in and tell me if you can hear tone. You ready? Here we go.
Hello? Hi, good afternoon. I'm looking for Joan, please.
Joan?
Yes, Joan Konopka.
Who's calling?
My name is David. I'm with the Griffin Realty Group. The reason I'm calling is because we saw that your property expired on the MLS, Joan, and I just wanted to let you know that we sent you our strategic listing plan in the mail in case you're looking to put it back in the market.
I said, well, I'm not ready at this time.
Okay. Well, we sent it anyway. I just wanted to confirm your address. That's the one at P.O. Box 103 in Chatham. So if you do change your mind, we'd be more than happy.
Okay. Really good there. I'm going to stop it there because there's a lot of meat here. She's playing a little coy with you, right? Right? She's Joan because I like how you didn't wait. You didn't wait for her to confirm she was Joan. You get it. That's Joan, right? So Joan sounds more like surprised somebody called her. It's almost like if you listen to the beginning of this one, she's surprised and a little softer. You can hear it. She's not as edgy as the first one. She's surprised. She sounds a little older. So I love one subtlety that you did. You changed the tone of your own voice to match it. Okay? It's a very subtle thing, but knowing you did. I'm going to play it again so people can hear you gear into her lane. You just get right in her lane with her, which I thought was really good. And I also like that you stopped trying to say, well, Joan, is that you, Joan? Is that him? Just go right ahead. Okay, if it's not Joan, by the time you're done, she'll say, oh, well, Joan's not home right now, right? So, but she didn't stop you, and instead of waiting. But in the latter half of the call, you start rushing things. I hear that nervousness. You're starting to get there again because here's why. Specifically, you say, I just want to confirm 103 P.O. Box, Chatham. And you keep talking. If you're going to confirm an address, say, did I send it to the right place? Yes or no? Right? And stop. You start to rush. The tone in the beginning when you're scripted and the pace is perfect. But now you start to get conversational, you're rushing. Where are you going? Because you're actually going to get her out of a rhythm of back and forth. And the rhythm with her back and forth was way slower than anything else, right? Listen to it in the beginning and watch how you start to rush it in the end. Here we go. Ready?
Hello?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm looking for Joan, please.
Joan?
Yes, Joan Konopka.
Who's calling?
My name is David. I'm with the Griffin Realty Group. The reason I'm calling is because we saw that your property expired on the MLS, Joan, and I just wanted to let you know that we sent you our strategic listing plan in the mail in case you're looking to put it back in the market.
I said, well, I'm not ready at this time.
Okay. Well, we sent it anyway. I just wanted to confirm your address. That's the one at P.O. Box.
Hold on. That's a bad word whisker, too. In English, I sent it anyway. Sounds almost like a little annoyance. Lose that word whisker there, okay? Because I sent it anyway.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It almost sounds, it's very subtle, and I'm nitpicking this, but just, if you want to reiterate that we sent it because we believe it will help you, when you do go to put it back on. I'm not ready right now. Oh, no problem. We sent it because we know when you do go back on it, it will be helpful. Say it demonstratively. Say it with strength. We know with certainty that this will help you when you get ready to go back on, right? So there you go. Let me just keep going here.
103 in Chatham. So if you do change your mind, we'd be more than happy to assist you.
Very good.
All right, John? Thank you so much, and happy holidays. Happy New Year. Goodbye.
Yeah, you're rushing at the end. You're really, really rushing because there's a little bit of give and take, but now you're steamrolling over her. Don't lose. You didn't need to accelerate through this call. Had you kept that beautiful pace that you heard with your ear, you matched with your tone, and you had with your script, you got to get comfortable with that latter part of the call. Why? Because you didn't even think this was a prospect, did you? When you put the notes in, you said that this wasn't necessarily a prospect. You were trying to figure it out with Laura, but you didn't think it was a prospect, and I did. Or was it the other one? Which one of these which one did you think was a prospect and why?
I thought it was a lead plus. It's this one. I thought it was a lead plus. I didn't necessarily think it was a prospect altogether. So I thought it was something that was worth following up for, but not really to the point of it being a prospect initially.
Okay, now that's a problem.
Danny?
Yeah, go ahead,
Danny?
Gail. Come on, Gail.
You didn't ask, forget about the address and all that. That, I think he just had to fill in because he was, I'm not sure, I can't speak for him, but who cares about whether they got it or not? Is it okay if I give you a call back? When do you think you might be thinking about relisting your property?
Yep.
I mean, those are real pertinent questions to ask so that you can get some kind of idea of the motivation and then the timing.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, and that's why he gets rushed there. He has the opportunity, David, you have the opportunity to...
I got it. I do that too.
Yep.
I mean,
for sure. Well, because, look, anytime you pick up the phone, your energy has to be up. You know that most people are going to be interrupted. So it's almost, you feel bad that you're interrupting somebody. What I'm trying to teach is be in control of this situation. We as experts, as strategic professionals, have something that these folks could really use. In fact, expireds and probates, they're in such dire straits that they really could have used it in the beginning or really need it. And we have to believe that. It's a belief system. So David, like Gail's saying, by the time you get there, it doesn't sound like it's right now. Well, either way, the plan will help you. But while I have you, when do you think you might consider putting it back on? It's an easy question because that brings certainty. See, she's exactly right because the problem here, and what I'm trying to train on, is you've left both situations, more so the second one, in a little bit of a nebulous spot. Right?
So remember, take that yellow pad in front of you because I'm doing my calls now. And just make sure you write down what the outcome is going to be.
Right.
So what happens is we get confused because we don't know what we're doing. We don't know the outcome, and the outcome is to find timing and motivation. If we can't get the appointment, let's find timing and motivation. And write it down. You do the next call and write down, I'm going to get an appointment or find out timing and motivation. So you put it in front of your face because it is a mindset thing, and that's what keeps. And believe me, David, and everybody else on the call, I can be just as unprofessional sometimes because I'm not focused.
Yeah.
And that's really the
Gail,
thing. If you're focused on the call and you got the energy and you're thinking, I'm going to get an appointment or I'm going to find out time and motivation, come hell or high water, then it's going to happen.
Gail, you know what? I don't think it's unprofessional. I think it's non-strategic. I think that's what happens to us. We're all professionals.
But that's a good word for it.
Yeah.
But behind that is focusing.
Oh, for sure.
Behind that is not focusing. So, that happens to all of us that do calls, but it doesn't need to if you write things out. on the next call, okay, what am I going to do on the next call? So you got to work at it.
Yeah.
You got to work at it, and you got to work at it with your mindset and what you're going to say. So you just can't think it's just going to happen. Because for us in this area, to get like 2 or 3 people to talk to in a day is a miracle.
Yeah,
and
that's
I've
right.
been on the miracle business for the last 2 days. So,
yeah, that's right. There's no doubt about it. Well, let's go back to the word that she used here. The whole point at the beginning of the call was, I want you all to be very clear about the outcome. If you want to be successful in the sales business and real estate agency, you better know how to create a quality prospect. A quality prospect means that you have some clue about their timing and their motivation for selling it. If it expires and they say they won't, gee, well, what happened? What happened? How come? How come you don't want to put it back on? Did your plans change? I mean, don't be afraid to lean in. When the dog bites, lean in. Don't pull back. When you pull back, the problem is what you leave is uncertainty. There's nothing worse than, like Gail just said, it's hard enough to get people on the phone these days. It's hard enough for them to hang in there for, a 7-second conversation, right? And you did all that work. Lean in. Lean in. Say, whoa, before I leave you, I just want to make sure, is there a time you will be putting it back on the market? Because if there is, we'd like to go over that plan. But don't rush, because your outcome is not a good one after all that work if you're not clear. And that's what we're doing this week, is we're cleaning up these 2 opportunities to say, well, could we have done better to be clear about that? Now, I think the first lady, said she's not planning on putting it back on the market. But again, like Doug picked up, she's pissed off. She's pissed off. So what I would say is your job on the assembly line is that, hey, I had 2 conversations, and even though this lady said she wasn't putting it back, that could be today's conversation because, like Kate said, everybody else is calling right now. But a week from now, after she's received our strategic plan, it comes in this professional package. It's professionally written. She sees the weight of it. She understands we're different. Now that's been passed off to somebody like Laura, or some of you are doing the next stage yourself. Say, hey, I know I called you last time. I don't know if it was a bad time, but I sent that. Did you get it? And I remember you said you weren't going to put it back on the market. If I could help you get it sold, would you consider putting it back on? Doug said that. Gail said, the other part of it. We've got to go in there and fight for the answer. Okay? At the risk of, look, there's no doubt about it that the most successful marketers and salespeople, they know how to agitate the pain to get a response that's certain. Now, there are a lot of certain responses. Nope, my sister's a realtor. Nope, I'm not moving anymore because I got an extension on my contract. There's some legitimate reasons people in their plans change. But I would make an argument that I bet most of the people that expire were a lot of high Ds. That's my experience. There's a lot of high Ds, and the agents that worked for them to get their house sold were afraid of them. They were afraid to lean in when that dog was biting about price, about getting the house cleaned up. These are all my real experiences. I know these people. I have several of them listed right now. They're high Ds. They don't want to hear it, even though they are listening. So you have to learn how to lean in. No better place than on the inside. All right, let's gear shift. Somebody take me outside sales. Give me a big challenge that you're facing or you don't know what to do. I know yesterday on the campfire, Leslie was bringing up going up against that big resume. How do you win that if you're an agent? But I'll take any kind of outside sales challenge next, because that was good and in depth on inside sales.
Hey.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Danny, can I jump in?
You can. You had texted me something.
And this is one that real life that I texted you right before the call about. And it's basically situation is buyer's a sync lead. Buyer lead came in through the daughter because the daughter is going to the university, and daddy's going to buy her and her friends a house to live in.
Yep.
So all initial conversations were with her, but dad came into the equation basically after she set up the appointment.
Yes.
And up until that point, I tried to reach Dad. He wouldn't call me back. So I, talked to him a couple of days ago, aligned the goals as far as what he was looking with, and confirmed our meeting time. And he goes out of his way today to call me and say, well, I know we'll meet you at the office tomorrow first before we go look at these houses. I just want to let you know I'm not going to sign a contract.
Yeah, okay.
And I said, okay, that's fine. You don't have to sign a contract. And his response to that was, I said, let me ask you, why is that something you feel important? Well, last time I bought a house, I had 2 or 3 different agents sending me things. I said, I understand. I said, it is a process. An important part of the process is determining who's who's representing you. I'd say it can be a disadvantage to have your confidential information spread around to several agents. And also it may be a scenario where the best property is not even listed. And in that scenario, it's important to have a understanding that the guy that's going to work with you is, that's the only way we can bring you that property. But we can discuss all that tomorrow. I didn't want to get into it big with him on the phone, and we kept the appointment, because I knew it was easier for him to recoil over the phone. But it just, I don't know. I mean, candidly, it pissed me off.
Yeah, but because, well, hold on. It pisses you off because it's not what you want, right? You want to, you want to control the situation, and he wants to control the situation, but he's the potential client. He's the prospect at the moment, and he's the potential client. And he's telling you how he wants to go through the process. So respect that. So yeah, I understand that. There's a lot of people that think that working with multiple agents at one time is beneficial, and I understand where you're coming from. So when you meet me, you'll see how I'll win your business. I just want to make sure you're going to keep that appointment with me. We can meet me at Starbucks. I don't care where you want to meet me, whatever's you're comfortable. But I want to know that I have a chance to win your exclusive business, right? If I can prove to you that I'm the guy, will you work with me exclusively if it's pissing you off, right? If it's a business decision. To me, it's like, okay, well, give me a heads up. Are you meeting with 2 or 3 agents when you come? Am I one of 2 or 3 just so I can define my own expectations, right? That's the way it works. But you again, when they don't fit into our round hole because they're a square, it's because, look, this guy's obviously some sort of a business guy, some guy that's, runs a business. He's not going to pay the school. He's going to come down here and he's going to buy a house. He's a control guy. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that guy. That guy's a decision maker.
He's a financial planner.
Yeah, there you go.
And really, I didn't fight it today, but of course now it's, because it did agitate me, I'm thinking about my next game plan. I'm thinking, well, okay, is it appropriate to send over the buyer infographic, which we just got, branded with our info to them? Is it, or is it best just to take it real casual and,
is he, look, Chris, you tend to overthink it. Just confirm the meeting, show up with the buyer infographic, and begin to win his business. See, that's the dogfight these days. I think we're always trying to win the business before we go face to face. When is the chance, what is the time that we have the chance to win the business the greatest? When is it the greatest opportunity? When you're face to face. Because now you meet me, you see how I'm dressed, you see how I perform, you see what I say. To me, the first time I meet somebody at a house, and we're walking through that house, I'm demonstrating professionalism by telling them what I see, what I'm thinking, how they should be aware of this, how they should watch this. And so I'm acting as if I am already their exclusive representative, right? I mean, I'm not saying that. I mean, the days when people were conditioned to say, okay, you're right, you are Mr. Realtor with the information, and I do need to come to your office, and I do need to sit down, and okay, great, you explain this to me, yeah, where else am I going? I'll sign the contract, you seem like you know what you're doing. There was a day for that, but the internet has changed everything, Chris, because what it's done is opened this whole thing up to people. Okay, and said, look, here's how the business works. So everybody gets to take a little bit and piece of what we do professionally and assume they know how complicated the process is, right? And if they've had an experience with somebody who's a non-strategic professional real estate agent, meaning somebody who just kind of showed them around houses and wrote up an offer, and they think they were not so good, they throw us all in there. So if he's had experiences that have jaded him too. So what's our job? Our job is to behave professionally and strategically. Say, no, I can appreciate that. I understand where you're coming from. By the way, if you want to get into it with them, say, hey, I really knew where you were coming from on the phone, and I get it. You're a financial planner. But let me ask you this. How would you feel if somebody was running around with 2 other strategic financial planners? Would that make sense to you? See, as a strategic professional, I want to represent you exclusively, because what I'm doing, what you're really believing when you have 3 people on the hunt, quote unquote, is that somehow miraculously they're finding things that aren't there. Now, you've already tried to go there too. You've said, look, a lot of properties aren't on the market. So, Chris, truthfully, last year, of all the properties that you sold to buyers, how many of them were not on the marketplace? They were not in MLS. How many?
1 out of 14.
Okay, one. Okay, you see what I'm saying? So what we end up cheating to when we get a defensive position because it's not going our way is not a lie. It's not a lie. But we always cheat. It's this whole concept of where these USPs got all whacked out too. We're always going towards that micro opportunity. Hey, did you know that if you don't work with me, I've got these hidden little off-market properties everywhere? You know, that's like the guy who's down on Wall Street today holding the physical stock of Google going, psst, hey buddy, why go into that big thing called the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ and go trade stock over there? I got a little piece down here. Come on, let's just walk down the corner of Wall Street. You give me some cash for this Google and I'll give you the stock certificate. It sounds creepy, doesn't it? Right? See, but we've lost context of how things, you make a market for things. There's huge value in really good stockbrokers, huge value in really good real estate agents who go into the marketplace called MLS, called the NASDAQ, and they're able to see and understand trends, movement, etc. So you want to demonstrate that. When you get defensive, prospects pursued, especially by a defensive cat, run away. You follow?
Totally.
So I think that the minute you get mad, like because it's not going your way, well, but Danny, he's coming from Sync and I spend all this money on Sync and we kept following up and he booked the damn appointment and now he doesn't want to play the game. I get it. I'm very empathetic. But the solution has to be less emotional and more strategic. Embrace it. When the dog bites, lean in. Okay? I'm going to get a new hashtag. When the dog bites, lean in. That's what it is. So the dog bites and he says, look, I'm not coming to that office to sign anything. No problem. You don't have to sign anything. That's great. I just thought it would be more convenient to meet here and then we could go from there and you could follow me to each property. Would you prefer to meet me at the first property? Does that make you feel more comfortable? Lean in. Here, what do you want? Oh, you want a bone? Here you go. Here's a bone. No, doggy, you can't have that bone, right? Lean in, give it to them. What is the big fight about? The more comfortable they feel with you before they know you, the more they begin to like you. The more they begin to like you, that you will allow for them to have process. I'm not saying that, boom, dog doesn't need a little reprimand, slap on the tail at some point in time to get him back in the right direction. You know that as well as I do. I'm going to lead you. You now liked me enough to trust me enough to be your buyer agent. Now I'm going to tell you, I don't love this deal. And here's why. Now, you can blow through my stop sign, but that other house that we saw, I'm telling you, is in a better neighborhood for this reason. It's got the better, 2-car garage versus this, and I might break it down. Now, I'm not going to go too hard because beauty's in the eye of the beholder. There is a time to lean in and give, and there's a time to yank back on the collar a little bit. Yank back on, the stirrup and say, look, don't go rushing into this deal. I don't like it. Something smells wrong to me, right? It's okay to be there, but not when you're just getting to know them, right? I like this, Michael.
Oh, yeah, completely.
Hold on, Michael. Hold on. Chris, hold on.
Assured him that
Hold on, we got a comment online. I just want to read it before I lose it. Michael Fox says, give the dog the bone, and then later on as a financial advisor, would you give 100% to a client that is using 3 or 4 financial advisors? Do you want 100% from me? Yeah, I like everything, Michael, except the very last line. I'd leave it at, that is, like I said, would you like them to use 3 or 4 others? How does that benefit anybody? I don't think we need to agitate him at that point in time because, like I said, especially if he's a high D, if he already has a perception, well, I know how this business works. We know all those guys and gals. They're all geniuses, right? They operate on bodies every day, but all of a sudden they're real estate experts by night, right? So it's that insecurity. It's actually intellectual insecurity. Some of the best academic oriented people are the most insecure when it comes to learning from other people. So I think we just have to learn how to be good teachers and guides. But if you tell me I've got an opportunity to meet with a guy who's hell-bent on buying a house for his kid in Kentucky because she's going to UK with all her friends, you're darn right I'm going to meet with him, right? There's no doubt about it. And he likes you.
Oh, yeah.
Because you followed up. He said yes to an appointment. So
Right.
You already have the wrong disposition when you go to meet him. You're walking in the door like, oh, there's so-and-so. He wouldn't come to there and he wouldn't do it. That's already in your subconscious, right? And again, remember the promise. Yeah. And remember the promise that you made to him. it's not a good one. You need to know that, there's some stuff that's off market, and, if you're working with 3 people, they don't know. You did 1 of 42 like that. That's not your strength. Your strength is your professional strategic plan, that you put these things in order like he does. Say, I don't know what you do for your folks when you sit down, but let me just show you this buyer plan. I want to make it clear that whether you're talking to a couple people or not, when we go see these properties, I'm your representative. Now, I don't know, we didn't talk about it on the phone because I didn't think it was appropriate. I don't know whether you'll be paying cash or whether you'll be, getting financing. So the bottom line is the next step is that either way, they'll ask me for proof of funds if you're paying cash or a pre-qualification. If you need a pre-qualification, I don't think you do because you're a financial advisor, but if you do and you want someone local, I'd be happy to make that intro. See, now what you're doing is you're taking him through the plan. So like Michael said in his follow-up, nail the face-to-face. Well, how do you nail the face-to-face? Now here we are at the first house. Hey, good to meet you here. Just want to give you a couple things, or the office. This is the plan that I follow when we go out to see the view. Right? Got it?
Yep.
It's a mindset.
The appointment's confirmed. I mean, he's still coming to the office, but it's just, it's just a matter of adjusting my mindset so it goes smoothly too.
Well, like Doug picked up on that lady in the ISA call, you can sense somebody's energy and then their tone subsequently and what they're really thinking, right? So if you come in with even a very subconscious shred of thinking that this is the SOB that didn't want to play my way, even if that's a shred, you run the risk of having that come forward and that defensiveness having come forward. Like just when the dog bites, lean in. Hey, what do you need? No problem. Let me go. Stop biting my arm. Here, you want to meet 3, 4 people? Great. But I'm going to kill it when we go see the 3 properties you're seeing with me, right? Oh, and by the way, while we're out there, I'm going to hustle. I'm going to call back to my wife at the office and I'm going to tell her, hey, can you pull a list of these? Because he doesn't really like this area and he likes that. Be ready to win the game, baby. That's how it goes, I think. Cool?
Yeah, cool.
Awesome. Good one, though. That's a real deal. Getting frustrated with people and letting it permeate into the relationship with them early on really hurts a lot of us. All right, that was cool. Anybody want to weigh in on that one or want to give me another scenario that's a challenge?
I'd like to.
Yeah, buddy. Go ahead, Dougie.
So, Chris, I think you said like the perfect thing when he asked you about a contract. You said you're not absolutely not required to sign a contract. And I think I'm sitting here thinking about this conversation as we're talking about it, and my first thought is like, okay, there's really like, do I have an opportunity to earn his business or not? That's really what I would want to know before I get off the phone. But I wouldn't really get into it on the phone with him about representation or any of that stuff unless he pushed the issue.
Right.
He did ask a quick question, which Chris answered. But I think that discussion can be had in person as opposed to on the phone. It might be more effective.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, one of my things. I mean, not to continue to go on the same conversation, but one of my scenario, the things I always think through in these scenarios is, basically buyers are either ones that like, know, and trust us, in which case they're going to sign a buyer agreement anyway, right? Or they're strangers like this guy, and then they're going to be compliant. They're going to go, they're going to go through the process and sign up or what have you. And it's all cool. But then you have other folks like this guy who maybe the motivation's there, but they want to be in control. They want to be a type D. They're not going to do this, not going to do that. Well, okay, that's fine. But then, at what point's the right point to ask for the kiss with those kind of guys? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a dance, Chris. I just think it's probably better off in person as opposed to like in the first phone call.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. But I thought what you said there was perfect. Like, hey, there's no obligation. And that could have ended that conversation right there. And then you obviously would get into it, when you met with him or when you meet with him, because he's a high D and it's going to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, that's right. There's no doubt about it. And look, the good news is he's going to respect you. Look, here's what I found. I found that guys and gals that come out of the box hot like that, and then once they get with you, and they hear you articulate some intelligence. And this is why I say we've got to get away from trying to be so esoteric and so defensive. Those are two things. We're always trying to explain some, crazy thing that we do, which isn't really what we do, right? And why don't we just show up well-dressed, well-groomed, ready to talk our strategic plan? And on the buy side, the 6 points. You know what I mean? Say, look, just so you know, I always like people to understand that I'm following a strategic pattern of behavior here when I go out with you. Number one, in the state of Kentucky, with or without the contract, I know you were concerned about signing a contract with me. I'm not going to lock you into anything, but we do have a disclosure. Just so you know that the state makes us disclose that when we walk through that threshold, I'm representing your best interest. It obligates you to nothing. It's a state disclosure. The next thing is, as we go down the line, you and I didn't talk about this, but knowing that you're a financial planner, I'm sure you're all over this one, but just understanding if we were to like a property that you see today and we were to write up an offer, they'll be looking from me to include in that offer proof of funds. So I don't know whether you are already pre-approved for mortgage or you'll be paying cash. Either way, be cognizant. They'll be asking me for that. The next thing is, when we go out here, what you'll notice is that online, there are a lot of features. It's really tough to figure this out online. And I don't know how well you know Kentucky. It sounds like you visited a couple times, but I'll try to give you neighborhood education as well and where I think your exit strategy could be. So that as we go around, we'll be refining it. Like I said, during that tour, I'll have Allison on demand on the back end that if we see things that we like or don't like, we'll look in MLS Live and see if there's anything else so that we can see things while you're still here, right? Then when it comes to negotiation, I want you to know what's unique about me. I'll actually do an analysis of the property, which I'm sure as a financial advisor you'll appreciate. We'll show you how we analyze whether something is a good or poor buy based in this local marketplace. And then ultimately we close it with care because it sounds like you're going to be out of Kentucky when a lot of this is going on. Boom. I mean, that's the full-blown elevator speech of the buyer presentation. So you could be in the office with this guy for 5 minutes or standing outside and hit those bullet points. This is what's about to go down. Now, all of a sudden, in this tiny moment of time, you've demonstrated professionalism. Now, again, this goes back to yesterday's campfire when Leslie was asking me the question, well, how do I compete with somebody with this huge resume? Well, this guy sold all sorts of, well, that's great. I don't know what that guy does, but here's what I do. I follow a strategic plan that I think benefits anybody. Okay? I'm not going to drag out my resume versus somebody else's because I think what's most important to you is that you know we're following a plan to help you succeed. And here's the plan. Now, if their plan beats mine, that's great. So that's why I keep going over and over and over. Simple, basic plans, 7 points for sellers, 6 points for buyers, until that stuff is ingrained in all of your heads because now you're on the phone. Let's just say you pick up the phone. You're not sitting there like Michael. You're not organized. The database is not open. And you don't even have the infographic in front of you. You listen. And Doug, what was the question the guy asked? You said he asked a question that you thought he could go over when it was face to face. What was it? Do you recall? Did I lose Doug?
I'm right here, Danny.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah, no sweat, Doug. What was the question? Because I want to make a point here that even in that frustrating moment, he might be able to touch something a little bit. What was it? Was it about representation or what was it?
About Chris, what Chris could have said?
Yeah. Well, no, the guy asked a question, though, you said. You referenced the guy did ask something, but maybe you should wait till you see him anyway. What was that?
Do I have an opportunity to earn your business?
Yeah. Okay. So, well, Chris, you want Chris to ask that, right? But Chris, what was his concern?
Yeah, well, I think, obviously Chris, I'm assuming Chris doesn't want to meet with him if he doesn't have a chance to earn his business.
Yeah.
And with the high D, if the guy was a high D, my assumption is he was, but, hey, it could be something as simple as, hey, I just want to know that, if that's the case, then I just want to know that I have the opportunity to earn your business.
Yeah.
And it could be just as simple as that, because I think what's going to happen after that is, some things might come out, whether my aunt's a realtor or whatever.
That's right. That's exactly right.
But I think that conversation, like I certainly, I'd want to know that before I got off the phone and met with him. But my assumption is that guy is going to talk about it when he meets.
No doubt, he's going to tell you the story.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I was kind of taken I was going to take it back just because it didn't come up in the conversation the other day. I mean, the appointment was already set with this guy a couple of days ago. And, I've been talking to his daughter intermittently at appropriate intervals for a month. And, a couple of times I tried to call Dad in there, and Dad doesn't call back until after the daughter sets the appointment. And actually, then he didn't even call back either. He finally just takes my call on Wednesday.
Yeah, but hold on, Chris, go back to your language. Chris, go back to your, don't, you're steamrolling down a bowling alley. Stop and go back to your own language. Why were you taken aback? That's really strong language. You're not even dealing with the decision maker yet. So what are you so taken aback about?
Oh, okay. Gotcha. You're right. I mean, I'm taken aback in the sense that I thought if he would have had these concerns, he would have brought them up on the initial.
Why? Why do you think that? Why do you think that? That's what
That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's what you want. But Chris, come on. Chris, you've been in this business for over 20 years. You really think people are going to behave that well for us? No way. No way. Yeah. See, for some reason, it's just you're getting your, look, it's normal, by the way, it's normal to be easily frustrated. Do we really have to deal with this? Yes, we do. We really have to deal with this. We have to deal with the fact that the decision maker, the daughter's been doing a lot of the legwork. Now the father finally gets in because the time to come, and we got this appointment booked, and who's this guy? And I'm a financial planner, and I'm not getting locked in with these guys. I would say that to my kid down in New York. Like, when she was looking for an apartment, it's like, all right, she and my wife were doing it. It's like, okay, who are we dealing with now? Tell me about this agent now. Who is this agent? All right, the agent is a friend of this gal, and she does all of these, these kids, the parents deal with her. Great. Do you like her, Julie? Yes, she sounds really nice and organized. Wonderful. Done. Right? So, but if it hadn't been that, I would have picked up the thing and called the lady and go, okay, what are we doing here? I don't really want to sign anything. I'm an agent up in Boston. I get it. What's the deal? What's the deal? I want you to get paid, and I want you to do this, but I want to know how this goes down. I'm a very matter-of-fact guy like that, too. So if she were taken aback by me, then I just move on, right? I mean, these are legitimate questions that the guy has. And he's not even saying it as a question. He's saying, look, I just want to make sure when we meet at this, don't box me in a corner. I would say the same thing to a guy trying to sell me a car, to a guy trying to sell me insurance. I get the same way because I don't like to say no to other salespeople. I don't like that. Because we kill ourselves as salespeople to try to get people to be nice to each other. So I'd rather not waste a guy's time and say, look, Chris, if I'm coming to that office and you're going to put me in a corner box room and you're going to try to sign me up to something, I'm not going to do it. So I don't want to waste your time if that's part of your plan. Oh, no problem. You don't have to sign anything. I just want to sit down and go over, a little bit about where we're going, what we're doing, and how I take you through that process. That's it. Take 5 minutes, right? That's it. Because I don't know what everybody else does that you're talking to, but I follow a clear plan. And that's why I sold 45 houses last year in Kentucky. Now you drop a little resume on the guy. You want to lean back on that dog a little bit? Say it intellectually and drop in a little resume on him. Say, I'm sure you'll be comfortable with me. I'm not a rookie at this. I follow a strategic plan. In fact, last year I sold 45 properties in the very area I'm taking you out to. Bang. There's a guy where he has resume and a plan, can drop them both. So if there are people out there that he's talking to, and you've got the plan and the resume, you're a tough guy to beat, right? But you've got to be comfortable.
Yeah, and Danny?
Yeah, go ahead, buddy. Jump in. Go ahead, Doug.
I was just sitting there thinking, like, when the guy said that, I mean, Chris could have a completely different reaction, and it could be something like, I'm so glad you're interviewing other agents. Now you can really see how different we are.
Yeah,
and
right.
then go into his
Beautiful.
spiel about,
Beautiful.
And that completely can change the conversation.
No doubt about it. See, that's the confidence, Doug, right? That's what I mean. Like, if you can, this is a really hard thing. Yeah, this is a really hard thing to do, Chris. The people that are best at what they do in many cases, many instances in sales, are actually, ironically, detached from the outcome. As much as when Gail was on, we were talking about know your outcome. In other words, they want it, they know it, but they've gotten so good at being detached from it, they're able to be completely authentic in that difficult moment. Hey, that sounds great. I'm glad you're interviewing a bunch of people, right? Since you are, why don't I do this? I'll send you over a copy of my strategic plan in the form of an infographic. I look forward to meeting you on Friday and going over it and then going to see a few houses. Like bang, lean in, right? Lean in with confidence, not cockiness. It's confidence to know. And rookies that are on this, all the people that are on teams or brand new to the business, in my team, wherever you are, listening to this. Resume is rendered less of the thumping, I guess the whipping post for you, as long as you stick towards the plan. I'll repeat this again. Have confidence in the way you're going to take them through it. Hey, that's great. You know what everybody else does, including all those veterans, right? Now, I don't know what their plan is or if it's digital age ready, but mine is. How about that line? I don't know what that veteran who's been doing it for 20 years that sold thousands of houses, I don't know how their plan is adapted for the digital age. Mine is. Well, what do you mean? Well, what I mean is that the internet's the new problem. Most people look online and they look at all these properties. So what I say is let's go out and see a few of your favorites first. Then we'll refine that. And then we'll get you up into MLS and out of these syndication sites so we can get more criteria and refine it. That's what I mean. So the more you learn this basic plan, the more snippets you have like that give you the confidence to compete with anybody and be detached from the outcome. If you lose on resume, that's fair. Say, hey, look, I really appreciate the opportunity to compete. If it doesn't work out with the guy with the 10-year resume, you feel like you're not getting enough attention or the plan doesn't work, you know where to find me. So, by the way, let me know either way if it's working. Would you let me know that in the next couple of weeks? Would it be okay if I followed up with you? Something like that. Rather than saying, I didn't get the deal and you didn't behave the way I want you to behave, right? That's and Chris, I'm not knocking you. I can't tell you how many times I've done that, right? Went down in my basement, swore, and came back up and, had dinner, right? It's a frustrating world when things don't go our way. But that's a feeling that stays rooted in us and really punishes us for quite some time. In fact, I think it costs us business. That make sense?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for bringing that up. All right, final questions. I'm into the bonus time anyway. Anybody have a thought on that? They want to weigh in? Anybody have a question that we missed answering that's burning? Kate, were you going to say something there? Kate, were you going to say something? You opened your mic. Okay.
Jenny, this is Doug.
Yeah.
Hey, Doug.
I was thinking, I feel like the motto of the call today is like diffusion. It's like diffusing that guy and like diffusing the people on the phone. It's like
perfect.
By just being professional. Perfect.
It's a good takeaway. Be professional, but lean into that dog bite, right? But with tone, you can softly lean in too. So I think of people when they hear me coach and train sometimes, because we're in this private training environment, I'm always high energy because I'm attacking paradigms, right? But if you actually saw me when I'm going out to deal with these challenges, I'm going to do what David did on that first call. I'm going to gear it down. I'm going to slow my pace down. I'm going to stick to the professional plan. See, you can go through a plan quickly with the high D, slowly with the high C, cross the T's, dot the I's. You can adapt in the context of the plan. But when you have the plan, you're rooted. Your feet are solidly underneath you confidently. So when the dog bites softly, or the dog bites hard, doesn't matter. You're there with confidence and you can lean in, and I think that matters. Doug, go ahead. Your thought there, buddy. What was it?
Well, first of all, Daddy, I want to compliment you on your ability to listen to questions you're being asked and then turn it into a lesson, because based on some of the conversations we've had the last month, you put this all together, everything I asked for. Thank you so much.
Okay, buddy. Well, it's working. It's working for you because you changed. Look, I'll go back to what you changed. You had a super, look at it. Let's leave it on this. Every one of us is small business people, because that's what you all are. Whether you work on a team, whether you own your own brokerage, doesn't matter. You're a small business person. The anxiety of running a small business in the digital age, which has discombobulated the way most businesses work, has put us on all high alert. We're on red alert all the time. We're working our tails off to try to figure out this new world that we live in, because the consumer behavior, including our own as consumers, is dramatically changed. But the one thing, Doug, that we can control is our thought process in spite of that anxiety. So as much as Chris was frustrated and you were frenetic back a couple months ago, the ability to think clearly, which really the buoy, the one thing that we can grab onto when we're feeling anxious, is a plan. The lack of a plan, it causes lack of clarity. And we have lack of clarity, we get more anxious and more desperate, and this is where we get frustrated. I'll guarantee all of us, whether savant agents or entry-level first time ever, hang on to the basics of a plan. You will get deeper dive into that plan as time goes on. You'll be able to, for example, when you're talking to a listing through 7 points, deeper dive into marketing, deeper dive into pricing it right. That will come with time. But right out of the box, right out of real estate school, a simple 7-step articulation of the process, how the listing business works, 6 steps on the buy side, how the buy side process works. That is digital age ready because we live in a world of too much information. All right. So keep that in mind. Diffuse the bombs. Good work here, everybody. See you on the other side of next week. Thanks for participating. See you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Ciao. Bye, guys. Bye, guys online. Thanks for being here. Michael Fox, you are the champ of the day. Thank you for putting that stuff up there, buddy. Appreciate your participation. Have a good weekend.